Good evening, Bravo Nice. This is Dr. Lopez, your principal, with a new edition of our Good Night podcast. And as usual, we're going to talk about topics that are very, very important and interesting to our student body, our faculty, our staff. And as usual, we have some really interesting, very important guests today. But before I introduce my guests, I'd like to introduce my co-host, Jose Morales. Jose.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jose Morales, and I'm the co-host for today's episode.
So today's episode, we're going to talk to three very, very important, very interesting members of our community. And first, I'd like to introduce Mr. Michael Morgan. Mr. Michael Morgan is actually an award-winning, nationally recognized teacher here at Bravo. And so we're happy to have you here, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. And we have two other very important guests today. We have Mackayla. Mackayla is our Science Olympiad captain here at Bravo Medical Magnet. And Hannah. Hannah is one of the team members for the Olympiad. And actually, I understand there are three other teams. The overall organization of all this is the Nerdy Club, right? And so we're going to talk about the Nerdy Club. Actually, it's one of our proudest. They've brought a lot of pride to our school in many different ways. And so we'll talk about that. So, Mr. Morgan, can you talk a little bit about the Nerdy Club and what it means?
Nerdy is a way of life as much as it is a club. And this started in 1999 with our first academic competition, which was entering the Chemistry Olympiad. And we've grown over the years, upwards of 14, 15 teams in any given year. I've been coaching it since 99. And we are involved in the National Science Bowl, National Ocean Sciences Bowl, Science Olympiad, Popsicle Stick Bridge Building, Basswood Bridge Building, individual written Olympiads in chemistry, physics, biology, earth science. We have sometimes been involved with robotics and mathematics competitions, including the United States of America Math Olympiad, and have gone so far as we've placed a student on the U.S. physics team in the Physics Olympiad back in 2014, I think it was.
So, one of the things as principal, as an administrator, as a teacher, I always dreamed of going to a school where kids would be in the hallway reading, would be in the hallway practicing, would be, doing academic things for fun, not just because they had to. And when I see you guys, I see that. And that makes me actually very proud and very happy because I'm in an environment where, learning is for fun. So tell us a little bit about your experience with that.
Well, I first started Nerdy in the second semester of my 9th grade year. I found it during the pandemic. I'm a science person, so Nerdy was just the right place for me. I started off with Science Bowl and Ocean Bowl. So at first, I started with subjects I was comfortable in, with like biology, since I had previous experience with it. But as time went on, I started exploring more science subjects like physics, chemistry, earth science. And through Nerdy, I found a great interest and passion in science. I used to only be focused into biology, and I didn't like earth science before entering high school. But through these competitions, I started gaining more knowledge in the science field, and I started enjoying not only competing but studying towards these competitions and towards these different variety of science topics.
What about you, Hannah?
For me, well, this is my first year. I've been doing Ocean Bowl, and I've been studying for it. I really like Ocean Bowl because I get to learn about the biology and technology in the ocean, or that you get to use in the ocean. And I've also been doing Science Olympiad, and I get to learn about trees and geologic mapping stuff. And I really enjoy it because I get to use my knowledge outside of class.
I have a lot more questions to ask because I really am interested in learning more about what you guys do. But I'm going to let Jose ask questions.
Okay, so one of my questions is, Hannah, you're a freshman, right?
Yeah.
How do you think that the Nerdy Club has inspired your interest in science, and how do you feel like the Nerdy program can help you in the future?
I've really enjoyed science, even before I joined Nerdy and even before high school. I think it'll help me through because I want to pursue biology as a major when I go to college, and I feel like it would just really help me with like prior knowledge, and it'll be easier for me after studying like all the textbooks that Mr. Morgan gives us.
Can I address that question too?
Yeah.
One of the things that I strive for is not just teaching subject matter, but teaching students and teaching them how their commitment to something like Ocean Bowl will teach them the habits that are necessary for their commitment to anything in life. And to be successful in something like Ocean Bowl or Science Bowl takes an immense amount of effort. But to be successful in anything takes an immense amount of effort. So it's life skills training. It's learning how to be the best person that you can be. That's what we're trying to do in there.
Great. You know, and Bravo is a unique place in many different ways, obviously, because we are a high-achieving, academically high-achieving school. But we're more than just that. We're more than a high-achieving school. I see kids having positive relationships with their peers, with their teachers. Tell us a little bit about how being part of this club also helped you with relationships, if it did.
Well, with Nerdy, I guess I found a community of people who have the same interests as me. So beforehand, I guess it's not really normal. Not every other student is walking around with a textbook or like enjoying science or reading textbooks for fun, but I found a community where we're bonding over science and bonding over what we've read. Like the other day, we were we're practicing for our science bowl competition, and we just had a full conversation about a science topic that with other people I might not have. So I found a community where we have the same interests, the same passions, and we're able to bond over those passions.
Great. If you had advice or input for potential students at Bravo or incoming students at Bravo, you know, what would you tell them about science and why they should look into becoming members of the club?
I feel like I would tell other students that science, although it doesn't seem really fun, although they don't think it's fun, it'll really help them broaden their idea of like Earth, of our bodies, of just like every living thing. And I just feel like it's a really fun topic once you like actually get it and like you understand it and like take that into account.
And if I could add something to that, the way you two are addressing it, it sounds like, and we know this isn't true, it sounds like it's just studying, but we're in multiple engineering events. So we have a group of people in there that might not be quite as textbook oriented as these young ladies are, but they're good with tools. And they're learning how to build. And one of our best builders ever who graduated in 21 is already making himself an amazing living working as an electrician. And it was a lot of the skills that he had developed in Science Olympiad, building devices for that contest. So it brings in a very large, diverse group of people that are interested in different things, but can all apply their skills.
You know, and that's the interesting part about all of this that we do, right? Is that there are a lot of assumptions that people make about different areas, different fields. Science being, you know, only some people go to science. I'm not smart enough. But there are multiple entry points to the science and to the application of science. I wanted to ask about what are some maybe non-science related benefits that come out of being part of this group. You talked about community, you talked about being able to learn more about the environment, but what are some maybe not related, non-science related? Mr. Morgan already talked a little bit about potential jobs or careers. You know, what other things have you found that you didn't expect maybe?
I have a few. So one of them is, I guess, adaptability. Getting out of your comfort zone, I believe it's a very important skill for an individual to have, especially out in the real world after high school. where we first approach different topics that we may not like or we may not get are kind of interested in, but over time we kind of do figure out that we do like that topic or enjoy studying what we're studying. So it's more of getting out of our comfort zone and addressing a variety of topics that we've kind of never really heard of before. So we kind of grow ourselves as a person as well. The second thing is, like Mr. Morgan said before, just dedication and motivation. And with these competitions, I figured out like a life skill that I have to put in my full effort in whatever I do, because in the end of the day, I don't want to have any regrets. So from these competitions, I've learned with like homework tests or any other projects that I've partaked in, I have to keep putting in my full effort, because at the end of the day, because the result reflects on how much effort that you've taken in. So like Science Olympiad, Science Bowl, if I don't study enough, then the result won't be as good as if I studied enough. So it's just putting in our effort and dedication. That would be something I've learned over time.
Awesome. That sounds great.
There's a great part to it also that is networking, because the students that have been nerdy in the past are still in nerdy. And one of our former bridge builders has actually been an engineer with the city advising our Basswood bridge building teams in the past. And I'd really love to emphasize the getting outside your comfort zone. I studied chemical physics in school and didn't take a single biology class or anything like that. And then when the teams came up to me and said, we want to go to Ocean Bowl, I'm like, I don't know any biology. I haven't had a biology class since I was a student in high school. But I spent a lot of time on the ocean when I was in high school training to try out for the 1984 Olympics. And it was amazing how all of that background was suddenly really helpful. And I thought it was going to be something that I was going to be adverse to outside my comfort zone, and discovered, no, I'm really back in it, just in a different way. So it helps people with that.
So that's
Wow, that's just amazing. I wanted to come back to what Mackayla said and how she's very dedicated, and how being in a club or a space like Nerdy is very inspiring, and it makes her feel really happy. Mr. Morgan, how do you feel that Nerdy has shaped your life, and how do you feel Nerdy will become in the next future years?
Well, Nerdy has made me an infinitely better teacher. There is no question about that, because I've had to push my skill sets into other areas. I've had to push it into dealing with students that I had not fully comprehended how much smarter they were than me. And it's like, they're asking me questions. I've got to go home and learn this new material now. Okay, which I never anticipated that was going to happen. As for the future, I'm in the process. I have a co-coach now, Mr. Navarrete, who's been working with me for a few years now. And he's going to be taking over a bunch of these programs, because, retirement is not that far away from me. It's not, now, don't worry. But I don't want to walk away from Bravo and have the program die. That would kill me. I want to make sure that these kids are still going to be supported. And I've been really fortunate to have somebody to help train to take over for when I'm finished.
Michael, Mr. Morgan and I were colleagues, or have been colleagues longer than
almost 40 years.
Almost 40 years now. And so you have been a key figure on our campus. You have shaped our campus in many different ways. Talk to us a little bit about how that the history of Bravo and how it's changed over the years, and maybe, and not just from the nerdy perspective, but just in general about Bravo.
Well, I cannot deny in any way that my philosophy of teaching was really born when I was a student at UC Santa Cruz. And I wanted to bring a lot of those Santa Cruz ideals. And I was there, a long time ago, when it was one of the hardest schools in the country to get into. And I brought that ideal with me to Bravo. It was my third year teaching high school. We started at the same time. We were both here the day Bravo opened. I'm the only person that's ever been in my room. And I have seen a lot that people would say is changing, but the kids haven't changed. The students, they're still kids. And that's the best thing about the job any day of the week. And I truly believe that I'm here to serve them. They're not here to serve me. I have seen programs come and go. I've seen programs get big. I've seen programs get small. I've seen new programs open up. And all of them try very hard to focus around the student. And that's what I think Bravo has done a good job of, putting the student first rather than putting the reputation of the school. And I think a lot of schools, they want to look good rather than to be good. And I think we've been better at being good for the kids. And we fly under the radar for a lot of things like that. And I'm okay with that. Okay, I don't need that outside attention to be able to do a good job for the kids. And that's it. We've been centered on the student, getting them research opportunities, getting them strong academic classes, getting them strong programs that are not necessarily what other schools offer. There is no other school in LA Unified except perhaps the highly gifted magnet at North Hollywood that has all of the science competition offerings that Bravo has. And the coach there is a very good friend of mine. And you know, because you get the phone calls, they offer me a job every year trying to get me to come over, mostly because I'm alumni at North Hollywood, to help, shore up their program. But, I think we recruit their coach as much as he recruits us. So we are giving students an opportunity to do things here in East LA that no other school in East LA is offering them.
That is
and I think that's great.
That is so true. And it feels like an honor to be able to serve this community in that capacity.
It's our
And
privilege.
I am going to use your phrase. Everyone tries to appear good. Everyone, tries to be a good school, but we try to be, we do good things for the kids.
Yeah.
I forgot already what the phrase looked like. I'm going to ask you to write it down for me because you said, but let's talk a little bit about the environment. I'm interested in finding out how other students who are not members of the Nerdy Club, how they see you. Do you struggle, walking around with a nerdy shirt on campus? Does anyone bully you because you're a nerd in the Nerdy Club? How is that going?
I think just being around people in Bravo who aren't as nerdy as us, I think it isn't really a challenge because everyone at Bravo are pretty, they have their own interests, so they know that they're nerdy, and that interest not as much almost as much as we are in science. So just being around representing nerdy, we represent it very confidently because we aren't really ashamed of who we are and what we are studying and how nerdy we are. We let people know that we are nerdy because we want people to know how passionate we are about what we're doing and how passionate we are in studying science and learning more and gaining knowledge. When people see us, they're like, "Oh, you're wearing a nerdy shirt? That's kind of nerdy." But they don't bully us or they don't say anything because they've seen our passion shine through our activities. During class when we have free time or when we have time to study for Science Bowl or Science Olympiad, the competitions, they see how passionate we are in studying or how we're reading a textbook. So they already know how we are and the environment that we're in. So they don't say anything bad about being nerdy because they got used to it and they know more about the nerdy team.
One of the things I do share with other principals and my administrative supervisor is Bravo is one of the schools where it's not just okay to be a nerd. It's really good to be a nerd. So I'm very proud of that too.
The United Way honored me about a decade ago, and they put a phrase up in the description of the program. And they said is, what they've done is they've made it cool to be a high achiever. And I think that sums it up really well. The other groups on campus interact with us really well. You remember we've had this huge Dances of the World program
Yes.
for many, many years. And I was very good friends with their teacher. And one day she walked into my classroom and said, one of our best dancers is failing chemistry. What can we do? And I grabbed one of the team members and said, here, sit down, help him out every morning. And within a couple weeks, we had 30 people from dances in my room every morning coming in for math and chemistry homework help. And the programs, they not only got along really well together, they supported each other. We had an event where one of our Filipinas had a traditional debut, which is not unlike a quinceañera. And she came and she goes, none of these people know how to dance. And I just went over to this group of girls and I said, I need 10 people to teach everybody to waltz in a week. And it happened. You know, they're very supportive of each other. They bring different things to the table, but everybody needs all those things.
Yes.
So it's a resource for everyone.
Yeah. There's community for different interests and different skills and different people. So that is also another of the strengths of Bravo. Is it isn't just a one-dimensional school; it's a multi-dimensional school, and that is rich, very rich, and unique for us. Jose, do you have any other questions?
I do have a question. I was just thinking about this. I feel like the abbreviation and the definition of being a nerd has been misinterpreted in many ways. People think that just because you study so much or you don't have a life or all you do is be in your bedroom and just study, they think you're a nerd. But do you think there's a difference on being nerd and being smart?
I do think there's a difference, but I wouldn't say that we're nerdy. I think it's just like a name, but at the same time, we are kind of nerdy because of our textbooks and like everything that we study. But it's honestly not a bad thing to be nerdy or to be smart because like, you know, like Mr. Morgan said, you gain life skills from this club, and then you also like take all of the knowledge that you have into college and like use that to like pursue your major, like what you want to do in life. And yeah, I think being nerdy and like being smart has really helped me in school.
The emblem for nerdy, which a lot of people might not just realize from this conversation, but you see on the shirts and check out the showcases on the 5th floor. It's 3 chemical elements. It's nitrogen, erbium, and dysprosium. And it just happened that we could spell nerdy and we could spell Bravo with periodic table squares. So we did that. Now, one thing I would really like to point out that you started to kind of get at right there, the future with what this can do for students. We had a year where we put 3 students into Caltech, which is 1.5% of their freshman class. That's a lot of kids to come from one school. And I actually know somebody that works in the admissions office, and I called and I said, how did we score this coup? It was because of their performance in one specific event that they had competed in. They competed against college kids, and they actually beat the team from Caltech. And Caltech said, if you're beating us already, we want you. Back when you and I were in high school, if you were a hacker and you broke into a bank's computer system, you didn't go to jail. You got employed by the bank because, you know, if you had a skill level that could defeat them, they wanted those skills. So this is a really good way to help cement your college admission process, to accomplish something, to come home with a winning bridge in a competition. It wasn't just a written test. It was a test of all those different modalities coming together, and it's really good for that.
Yeah, one of the common threads in all of our interviews is that by being part of a community, by being part of a group, you gain self-confidence, you gain self-awareness, You become much more aware of what your strengths are and what your areas of need are, and you work on those, and you become, you persevere. You persevere, you continue to work because you know that you can. And I so appreciate your contributions, this discussion, because I do think that other people need to hear your experiences. Science is not a scary, terrible thing to do. Anyone can do science. What I find the difference between being a nerd and being smart is that to be smart, you have to be a nerd. You have to work hard. You have to work hard. You have to keep trying. So anyone can be smart, but you have to keep trying. The scary part is people think you have to be smart first before you try. And that's the scary part, right? No, you just have to work hard. And so thank you for sharing your experience. Any last thoughts or ideas that you want to share or questions you may have for me or Jose?
Well, I have one. We want to expand our program.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the hardest things about expanding what we're doing is we need space, especially for our engineering events. The main reason that we backed away from doing robotics is that we don't have a space to build our robots. And we need another classroom. We need a place where we can leave stuff out. As it is for our engineering events with Science Olympiad, we're doing them on carts which get wheeled in and out of my room 4 different times a day. And if you've ever tried to glue a model airplane, moving it every hour doesn't help. So what are our chances of being able to get another classroom up there on the 5th floor that we can set up as what you at one point called a builder's room?
Yes, I had this idea of having a builder's room where we could do things like that. I think that's the best way to learn, is to have a place like that. And I am actually in the process of reorganizing the way we use space because our needs have grown school-wide. We are growing by one counselor, we are growing by one teacher, we are growing by another RSP teacher. So there is a high need for space. Fortunately, we do have our satellite locations, so I do have some flexibility. So I definitely want to contribute to this. I do think there are some priorities, and I do see the nerdy club, all of the teams actually, as priorities. We are a science-based school after all, and so we need to do right by that. Having said that, I learned something recently, and that was that if 14 families write to the board member or to the district with a specific need, that they're mandated to look into it and respond. So 14 families.
We can make that happen.
Yeah. So that is actually something I learned recently because we're dealing with space and programs and so on and so forth. And so that would be an awesome thing to do together as a family, as a community. So.
Last thing I would like to say, and I want this on the record, I truly appreciate the amount of support that you have provided for these programs, because it's more than any other boss I've had in the past. And I think part of, you were a math teacher. I don't know if everybody knows that, and actually quite a good math teacher. The students liked him. And I think you appreciate and understand what it takes to get students excited about what we now call STEM. Okay? And your support is not ignored and unappreciated.
Well, thank you, Mr. Morgan. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I have a high priority for your programs. I know what you do. I know the work. And, I wanted to ask you this question. I went back and forth. How many awards have you brought to our school, Mr. Morgan? How many ways have you been recognized?
I have not counted. I've been recognized. The district told me that I have been an LA Unified Teacher of the Year more than any other teacher in the district's history. In fact, after my 3rd time, they were talking about instating a rule, limiting it. I've been recognized locally, statewide, nationally, and this year for the first time in a competition called Molympics, which was an international competition. Mackayla's team brought home first place out of 12, 14 countries were involved, so, along those lines. Now you are phrasing it like it's my success. It's their success. It's the kids. Even the teaching awards that I've gotten are really because of the amazing kids that I've been able to teach and what they've been able to let me do that I might not have been able to do in a lot of other schools. So I just want to put all of it onto them.
Well, thank you. And that's a sign of a successful teacher, very modest and very humble. Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you.
The one, the last recognition I remember is the National Chemistry Teacher of the Year, I believe.
Yeah, it's called the James Bryant Conant Award.
Yeah.
And that one caught me by surprise, and I was really grateful to be recognized, because that comes from your peers. That's chosen by other chemistry teachers. And the weird humor to it was it happened and then the pandemic hit. So all of the celebration of that became virtual.
Yeah, as things happen, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your contributions, your thought. It was great having you here as our guest. Thank you, Jose.
Thank you so much, guys. It was really a really happy space to be in, hearing from Mr. Morgan and the members, Hannah and Mackayla. It was amazing to hear how many achievements and how you guys feel to be in a club like Nerdy. It's just amazing to hear all of your great success.
Thanks for inviting us.
And Jose is a ninth grader here at Bravo. So we're, learning in so many different ways. I want to thank Jose for agreeing to be my co-host. And so I look forward to a lot
Good
of
job,
great
sir.
things.
Thank you.
And go ahead.
As we're recognizing people, we just want to say thank you, Mr. Morgan, for just bringing this nerdy community together, because without you just leading us and giving us advice, we would not have been able to just go to competitions every week. Like January, we have a competition every Saturday.
Every Saturday.
And
14-hour days every Saturday in January.
And without you and Mr. Navarrete and the other people who show up for us, we would not be able to have these competitions and to continue doing what we enjoy. So we just want to, as a whole, we just want to say thank you and recognize you for all the effort and work that you have put in for us in the competitions, like the Fridays where you stay after school and help us with extra class and extra lessons for chemistry. They're all very helpful, and we just want to recognize all the achievements you've done just for the community and in the past and more in the future.
Oh, salamat po. But it really has been my privilege to be able to do it for all of you. And that's what keeps bringing me back year after year after year. So you drive it, and I appreciate the kind words.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you to our Bravo community for joining us in another edition of the Good Night podcast. And as usual, be a good night.